Hello and welcome to Nerds R Us, a show where we discuss anything and everything you'll find at your local convention. I'm Tyler and I'm joined by my extremely handsome co-host, Mr. Walter Brady. Say hello.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to Nerds R Us, where we adults can be a kid. Here we talk all things nerd, from movies to comic books to video games and everything in between that you see at conventions. Anytime you see someone dressed up, we're talking about it.
Very well put. Today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite thing to hate and love.
Disney!
And comic movies. Or just pretty much any nerdy movie in general.
Keep in mind, guys, we're just a couple guys with our own opinions. A lot of these things aren't exactly fact-checked, but we do our best to be as accurate as we can on some of this stuff. So you can check us out at our Facebook page at facebook.com/nerdsrus. Keep in mind that's spelled NRDSRUS.
Also, check us out on YouTube at the same name. Also, you can check us out on Twitter with our handle at NordsRS1. Had to be a 1 because some jackass took our first name. So, what are you going to do?
So, Disney merger. Agree or disagree?
I change my opinion on it every day, man. I want to agree on it because it's like, yeah, because like more money, great studio and shit like that. But also, they're going to do what Disney does with anything that they get their hands on. They're going to release too many fucking movies, and it's going to ruin it. It's not going to be special anymore. It's just going to be a situation where it's a new movie from some comic, mostly Marvel, obviously. It's going to come out every single month instead of, one movie a year with all the built-up anticipation. It's not like a cool thing anymore. It's just going to become as boring as all the Star Wars that are coming out.
Just going to convolute it. Well, the only thing about Disney that I have a complaint about is that they seem to want to add like a love story to every single movie they do. There's got to be some kind of romance involved, which is kind of frustrating when it comes to superhero things because that's not always the case. Every superhero has their fling, I guess, but Disney likes to create things out of that and take it too far. I don't know. I haven't seen the new Star Wars, so I guess I can't be too judgy on that. But a lot of feedback I got from that was it was too much of a love story.
It was a love story, but also it's just a situation where if they had never come out with any more Star Wars, I would have been just as okay with it. It still would have been a good franchise, in my opinion. More movies don't make a good franchise. That's my complaint about it, and that's my problem with what they're doing with comic book movies. Is it's like when the first Avengers came out and it first got announced, it was like announced, and then they put out like 3 individual character movies before that. There was a lot of build up, and then by the time they actually did the final team up, it was like a national event. It was like the Super Bowl of comic book movies. Now you got one coming out every year on the dot, no matter what.
I think that's my problem and why I actually stopped watching a lot of the ones coming out. Because like me and you discussed earlier, I haven't seen the new Spider-Man Homecoming yet. And truthfully, I need to catch up on a lot of the movies because I still haven't even seen Avengers yet. I call myself a nerd and I hadn't even seen the Avengers yet.
You son of a bitch.
I'm just so behind on all of them because it's like you said, now we're just like, it's like they have these great storylines, and what happens is you got Civil War and you got the Infinity, and you got all these great like crossover event storylines. And I feel like all the backstories kind of got rushed, so they released all these movies to try to get to what would be the main storyline of Civil War, especially. And I feel like they just rushed a lot of that. And I haven't even seen Civil War. But I feel like they just started pumping out movies, and now they rushed the story to get to this Civil War, which it was supposed to be huge, and it wasn't as big as it should have been.
I mean, to give Disney credit, I did see Civil War. I watched it in the theaters, and granted, I may have had a couple beers before, so that might have affected my opinion a bit. But overall, it was good. I enjoyed it cinematically. It's not. I don't think they're trying to go out there and win Oscar for best movie of the year or anything like that. Obviously, it was definitely entertaining and stuff like that. And I understand it's hard to do what they do in 30 to 40 different comics in one movie. Packing 100 characters into one movie, it's just not possible. So I thought they did a pretty good job with it overall. But even so, I still had my problems with it. I still had my problems where it's just it didn't have enough build up. It didn't feel like a civil war.
Yeah,
it was just like conflict, resolution, conflict, resolution, set up for the next movie. And it's just like, okay,
that's the Marvel MO right now with Disney, is the setup for the next movie.
The setup for everybody set up for Infinity War, and then Infinity War is gonna come out, and then what? After credits scene, Infinity Wars 2. I don't know where they're gonna go with it after that, but I mean, it's just like, we know a big bad guy's coming, but like, take the time to make a really good movie, like Iron Man 1, when that movie first came out, before, I'm pretty sure that was before they merged with Disney. That
Actually, Iron Man was one of the first Disney. I think Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor were the first Disney pieces.
Okay, well those three they were origin stories movies, which I'm not a huge fan of.
And truthfully, I was gonna, going into this, our first podcast, I was gonna have a hard time trying to find negative things really to say about the Disney merger, other than the things we just discussed, because really in the humble beginnings there, Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man were good movies. I mean, Captain America was real close to the storyline, real close to the origin of Captain America. I think they did that. They did Steve Rogers justice in that movie. Really, Chris Evans was a hell of an actor for that.
I mean, he's like the dream boy when it comes to like fan casting a character. It's like him and I mean Tony Stark. I mean, getting Robert Downey Jr. When I first heard that, I was like, he's a little old. I thought he was a little too old for the role. Then they fucking
Robert Downey Jr. The last time I actually saw him before the Iron Man movies, because I didn't know who he was, but the only thing I had seen him in before, from what I recognized the name, was Ally McBeal. And didn't he get fired from Ally McBeal for his marijuana
problems?
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, that's a big.
So I guess I kind of had that premonition of him when they cast him for Iron Man. I was like, didn't he get fired from Ally McBeal?
Oh, that's so fucking funny. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he really dropped off the scene around the late 90s due to extreme drugs. It might have been late 80s if I could be wrong. I don't know for sure, but yeah, he had some serious problems, and then out of nowhere they're like, Tony Stark's Robert Downey Jr. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
And now you can't imagine
anybody else
being
and
Tony
turned
Stark.
out to be the perfect casting. Same thing with Chris Hemsworth. Yeah. He was pretty unknown for Thor.
And now he's Thor and everything.
Yeah, when you see him in a movie, you're like, oh, he's Thor.
And same with Captain America and Chris Evans.
Yeah.
But no, even in popular, in comics now and action figures of Iron Man, it's very...
They all look like Robert Downey Jr. All the Captain America ones and all the Chris Hemsworth ones. Yeah, exactly.
Which is funny that Disney picked him up, because I think that's one of the most interesting parts about that, is because he had all those drug charges and everything, and Disney was still like, hey, we'll give him a chance. And he took the baton and ran with it, because Iron Man 1 was huge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think part of the reason it was so huge is because it had been a couple of years before a real big comic movie had come out at that point, especially anything from Marvel. And honestly, the bar for comic book movies before 2008 when Iron Man came out wasn't set super high. And don't get me wrong, if I watch the original Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi one, or if I watch the original X-Men, I still love it because that shit came out as a kid and that was the first comic book movie I saw. And I can't think of a single kid out there who didn't watch X-Men on their fucking VHS tape player and then went into the fucking kitchen, grabbed some foil, and made themselves some Wolverine claws. Yeah.
With us, it was always the chopsticks. We'd take chopsticks and wrap them in aluminum foil. And then we always had that the casting roll for when you have a cast on your arm, then the medical rolls. And we just roll it around our hands.
Yeah, see? And it's those were great movies for the time. But you look back at them, and then you're like, oh, that was what I thought was so fucking great. But and I'm sure our kids are going to look back on Iron Man 2008 and think it's shit, but I don't know, they just really raised the bar. They really brought it to the set and really set it up so that big name actors could be in movies, because before that it was just Hugh Jackman. He was the biggest name to touch a comic book movie. And
yeah, because now no matter what he's in, he's Wolverine.
He's a Wolverine, exactly. And it's just one of those situations.
And I'm actually excited about Disney getting their hands on X-Men finally.
It took them long enough. I mean, they had the same problem they
Let's
had with Spider-Man.
let's be fucking real about the X-Men movies. Garbage.
No, they're garbage. They're garbage, but
I've seen them all now, and I have a hard time watching them seriously. Like, they were. I understand the need to try to make something new out of it, but you think Fox would have taken note from Disney's success in movies like Captain America and Thor, and just finally did a real. I mean, they had a chance. They did the Wolverine Origins movie, and that was garbage. Other than Hugh Jackman, the whole Wolverine movie was horrible.
well, pretty much. I mean, I don't want to discredit everybody in that movie, but I mean, Halle Berry's Storm. Not my favorite. I don't even know the guy I know he's in Westworld now, but the guy that got to play Scott Summers Cyclops.
Oh my god, he is the prince in the Disney movie Enchanted.
Yeah. See, I can't think of his name off the top of my head for some fucking reason, but yeah, I mean that guy, terrible, should never be in a comic book movie. Not that he's not a good actor. I've seen him in a ton of other stuff where I was like, that was pretty good. But yeah, he should not be Cyclops. That was terrible casting, and I think the only reason like they got any of those actors, they were like all pretty. Like Halle Berry was kind of, she was like an A-lister at the time, but like other than that,
I mean, bottom of the barrel.
And Patrick Stewart. I mean, everybody watched that and was like, oh, Captain Picard. Like, but I mean, Hugh Jackman was like the one character that of that whole cast that I would be okay with if Disney started making. Now that they have X-Men, if they recast him, I would be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because he's Wolverine. Nobody else can do that shit, Anybody else, and they're going to bring someone else to it, sure, and I'm still going to have, like, a little resentment towards him. I was like, you're not fucking Wolverine. Like, you're not Hugh Jackman. Get the fuck out of here. But, I mean, I'm sure they'll do good with it. It's just, I'm worried that you're going to see fucking X-Men 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in 2 years, and it's just not going to be, as cool. I mean, even the time between X-Men 1 and X-Men 2 was like 2 years. Granted, they were both not great movies, but there's still, I remember like when the preview came out for X-Men 2, I was like, oh shit, like I really liked X-Men 1, and I figured out when that was coming in before the days where internet was anything more than dial-up, and figured out when I had to go see that shit in theaters.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
I'm going to call it a win. Like, in my book, it's a total win. I think it's about time. I mean, they just Spider-Man just got bought out by, Spider-Man. Sony just got bought out by Disney as well recently, and they made the new Spider-Man. And again, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard good things about it.
I personally watched it, and I thought it was really good. Probably
because wasn't Homecoming was Disney, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Disney because they teased it. So Spider-Man was in Civil War for like a one fight scene. And I thought they did a really good job. They didn't show him as Peter Parker. They showed him as Spider-Man, but I thought he was a really good Spider-Man. But I was like, I don't know, this guy's going to be as Peter Parker. Because we've had good Spider-Mans. Like, I thought Andrew Garfield was a decent Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire was an okay Spider-Man. But none of them were good Peter Parkers. I was like, I don't know how good this guy's going to be as Peter Parker. Is he going to be like a nerd? Like, is he going to be, because he just needs to, like, have no friends. He just needs to be super uncool. And he needs to be a guy in high school, not an adult.
And that's another reason another proof to my point about rushed Disney movies is that Spider-Man was actually huge in Civil War. Like, if you read the Civil War comic storyline, Spider-Man was quintessential. He was at, like, the center.
He was right there with Iron Man. He did the unmasking.
And in the movie, apparently, you only see him for a little bit.
He's just in the one fight scene. I mean, it's a great scene, and it's a great matchup scene. It's just as good as when you first saw the Avengers get together in Avengers 1. When you first see all the Avengers get together, out of nowhere, Bruce Banner comes up on his little fucking moped, and you're like, oh shit, like it's about to go down. It was similar to that because you were like, oh shit, like all these badass heroes are like fighting each other right now. And then I didn't like think Spider-Man was going to be it. I had no idea he was in it at the time. But he pops up and then fucking Ant-Man pops up. So it was good, but they didn't show him at all as Peter Parker. But what I liked about Spider-Man Homecoming, to fucking retrace my steps here, is first things first, they didn't make it an origin story. I don't know who you are, whoever's listening to this podcast, everybody knows
who Spider-Man is,
and everybody knows that Uncle Ben dies.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to see that anymore. We all know, just like we all know Batman's parents died. we know we don't need another origin story movie. They didn't do that. They skipped over it. They said like they mentioned it for a second in the movie, but it's just Aunt May. They say he's dead. He's already Spider-Man. He's doing his thing. It's about Spider-Man. It's not about Uncle Ben's death. It's not about with great power comes great responsibility. He's just Spider-Man, and he's learning how to be a good hero.
So let's do it this way then. Let's just rattle off some Disney movies and see what you would call a win or a loss. So Guardians of the Galaxy, win or lose?
I would say win overall because they did a good job. They brought a no-name team to the forefront of the universe. I mean, you could go to the fucking comic book store and get any Guardians of the Galaxy for like $1 before that movie came out. Now you're lucky if you could find one for like $20 to $30 because of how big they blew it up and made all those characters popular.
So Thor, win or lose?
Thor 1, definitely a win. Great. And even though I was just crapping on origin stories, great origin story because Thor wasn't like the biggest. I mean, he was known, but he wasn't known to like everybody. So I'd say win. I'd give that a win.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3 needs to burn in a pile of fucking ashes.
See, I knew that answer before I asked
Hitler's bodies next to like the digitally remastered
original
trilogy of Star
infallible.
Wars.
Even Disney's not infallible. Even Disney has its
No, Disney messes up. I mean, they even release they release animated movies I don't like. It's not like everything they release is gold. It's just like they're so big and they own
the nice
everything.
thing is, like we discussed, is now that Disney's taken over Fox and got the rights to some big name heroes, now X-Men can get the justice it deserves by having the financial backing and the renown and well-known actors and A-list actors are going to want to act for this movie. You know what I mean? So now that X-Men has a new chance to be shown, do you think they're going to do an Origins movie again and try to just reboot?
I think they need to reboot if they're going to do it. Maybe not reboot with like an origin story. Maybe like a quick, oh, we're getting the team together for the first time, but not like half the movie is origin story. Just like, oh, we're just like getting all these mutants together. Professor Xavier's like, I'm gonna open up the school. He opens up school. Then he's like, just kidding. Like, you're not students. We're going on missions now. Type situation. Hit it for like 10 minutes and then movie and then like actual conflict, actual bad guy, actual like fucking synopsis to a story besides like, oh, hey, these guys are dealing with having powers. It's
right.
Like, we've seen it. I've read it. I've seen it. I've watched it. I've listened to audiobooks of it. There's just not very much need for origin story with ones that are that big. Like, if they did an unknown character, like they do like an Iron Fist movie or like a Moon Knight movie, yeah, you need an origin story because people don't really generally know everybody loves Moon Knight, who knows who he is, but people don't generally know who he is. People know who the X-Men movie is.
Yes.
Just like in 2000 when X-Men, the original one, came out. Doesn't matter if you were a comic book fan or not. Everybody went and saw that movie.
Because they knew who the X-Men were.
Yeah, it was a big movie of the 2000s. There's no need for origin stories, or at least full movie origin stories.
Maybe do characters. Like a brush up in the beginning. Like maybe just in the credits, just do one of those things where they show clip scenes of what happened to set up the story.
Something. I mean, I just don't want to see
or just do the Star Wars in a galaxy far, far away.
Just fucking synopsis everything at the beginning of the movie.
Really, that's a brilliant way to do it.
Hey, you know what, dude? They probably had 30 to 40 more minutes worth of film. They were like, well, there's no way we can release this 4-hour movie, so let's just sum this shit up real quick. In the fucking credits, at the very beginning, people will know who fucking Darth Vader is. They know what Princess Leia's up to. Boom, we're on the ship.
There,
and shit's happening. Immediately you see Darth Vader, comes out.
To preach to the success with that, they started with the 4th movie.
Yeah.
And people still knew what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, exactly. That's just one of those situations. So, I mean, overall, I would say Disney is a win. The only concern is just too many movies. That's my main concern with it at the end of the day. It's just gonna ruin the speciality of it.
I'm gonna call it a win. So we're a little bit over our normal time. This is our first podcast, so we're testing out some of the kinks here. So one of the things we want to start doing here is we want to do a segment each show. It's called the Head to Head. It's something that you guys can get involved in. You can go to our Facebook page. You can go to our Twitter and give us suggestions of this. It's where I bring someone to the table, and Tyler brings someone to the table, and we pit them against each other. And it's anybody. It could be anybody from any comic, any movie, against anybody from any book, any video game. It doesn't matter. Just two characters head to head, and we discuss, who's better. And that just doesn't mean who could beat who in a fight. We're talking, who's bigger, who's more renowned, who's better for their team, etc., etc., etc.
So, me being a DC fan, I'm going to bring to the table for this week's head-to-head, when obviously since we're talking comic book movies, we're bringing comic book characters, I bring in Hercules, whatever the hell you want to call him, from DC to today's fight.
I'm going to be, why don't you give a little bit about Hercules here.
Well, you got freaking Hercules. Everybody knows him. Everybody's seen the Disney movie. Everybody's seen the countless crappy, actual live-action movies that they've made. Freaking demigod, god of strength, super healing, limited immortality. Swimming through the freaking river, freaking picking up Meg. Broke my heart. He's got super strength, super stamina, super durability. Freaking great fighter, great sword fighting skills, great Greco-Roman wrestling, being a Greek god and such. And also, he's got a freaking sick lion skin that he wears that's impenetrable. So, I think he's got a good fight. Granted, he's kind of a dick in DC with all the rape and, being a bad guy. But you still gotta love yourself some Hercules.
And I'm going to go ahead and bring old Peter Rasputin, hailing from the Soviet collective, Mr. Colossus, on the X-Men Gold team. He joined the second generation of X-Men, along with Archangel and Cyclops and Jean Grey.
And Wolverine.
Right. Team Gold. Colossus, for those of you who don't know, Colossus is the guy in the movies when Deadpool, he turns his body metal, it turns into an organic steel. Big man, super strength. And depending on what era Colossus you're talking about, you can be running into the Colossus Juggernaut, the fusion of the unstoppable Juggernaut mixed with the unstoppable power already of my man Colossus.
Yeah.
So today's head-to-head is a battle of strength.
Battle of strength. Okay, so, you know more about Colossus than I do. Where does his super strength end?
He sits at about an 8 on the atomic power meter of Marvel, according to Marvel's strength meter. He's an 8.
He's an 8? I don't think there's a DC strength meter
and to clarify, Juggernaut's a 9, and the only 10 that I saw on the list was the one and only Incredible Hulk.
Incredible, yeah. Well, you can't stop somebody's power to the stop. But, they don't really have anything like that for DC, but I do know that at one point DC's Hercules had to actually hold up for an eternity almost the whole island of them where all the fucking Amazons are from. He had to hold that up as punishment for being a total douche for a century, and it was just him by himself holding up the whole island for forever. So obviously his strength would have to at least be an 8 on some type of fucking scale. So organic steel, that steel, can it be broken?
But can Hercules breathe underwater, though?
I don't think he can breathe underwater. Actually, he did lose to Aquaman by trying to drown him one time. So that's probably his weakness right there. It's because he is half human the majority of all of his stories. So he does have to breathe.
Colossus's organic steel actually allows his skin to not need air, so he can survive in outer space, and he can survive underwater under extreme, deep sea pressures.
Can he survive under extreme heat as well?
Yeah,
Is there a limit to the amount of heat he can take?
Yeah, of course. It's. I'm not sure on this, but I don't think his metal is magnetic. I don't think it's something that Magneto can control. I believe it's just organic steel.
All right. I would say at the end of the day, it's going to depend on the arena, obviously. I would say
strength for strength, that would be tough. If we're just talking pure strength, that'd be
a battle for the ages. That'd be Hulk versus Thor, Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations. I would say, depending on how the fight could go forever, because Hercules has the accelerated healing. He's constantly healing himself.
See, that's where Colossus would have the problem, I think, because he is human underneath that steel, and he does have endurance limits. It's a long time. The organic steel enhances his endurance very much, but he does have his limit. And I guess if Hercules can outlast Organic steel.
It's just going to be a blow for blow situation. Okay, end of the day, though. End of the day, you're sitting in your living room. Who are you going to have a beer with?
Okay, that's true. Because Peter is a little bit of an awkward guy. He's a do-gooder. He's one of those self-sacrificial, nice guys. He's not the partier. He's not the guy you hang out with. He's just the simple farmer. I mean, you'd think he was Amish. He's one of those good guys. He's the first guy to sacrifice himself. Just like when they released the what is that virus called that killed all the mutants, and Colossus took it upon himself to inject himself with the cure and be the one to die to release the airborne cure.
Yeah. The only problem with Hercules is
is Hercules selfless? No, he ain't gonna do that.
No, he would drink all your beer. So
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'd probably still rather have a beer with Colossus. But I mean, in a fight to fight, I think it would just be a situation of, in space or underwater, I'd give it to Colossus. Anywhere else, it's anybody's game because it's just a blow for blow type situation.
Overall, Colossus is my man. I would back Colossus.
All right. Well, I think we got to cut this head to head off of the fucking docket. We got to call it a day.
Excellent.
Thank everybody for listening, and once again, check us out on Facebook. Throw us a like on Twitter. Shout it out to us on Twitter at NerdsRS1. Hit us up on YouTube. All these episodes are going to be on YouTube each week. I'm releasing 3 episodes straight out the gate, Netflix style. And if you like what you hear, go ahead and check out my good friends, who also contains Walter, Dixo and Balls.
Yeah, check out Dixo and Balls streaming with an EC Stereo. We're both comedy show streamers. It's going to be a lot of fun. Keep in mind, this is Nerds RS's first podcast. We are looking to improve. So if you have any ideas or anything you think could make the show better, give us a shout out and hit us up on Facebook. If you have any suggestions for the head-to-head, also just give us a shout out and shoot us a message on Facebook, and we look to be entertaining for you guys.
All right, have a good day and see you later, and stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.